Hello, with me is reincarnation pioneer Andy Tomlinson, psychologist, psychotherapist and author of 3 books on the soul, and we'll be showing you a past life death. Welcome Andy. Can you tell me, is there any evidence that souls exist?
Yes, there are. There's 3. The first is near-death experiences where the person is able to see and experience the events around them even when the heart has stopped and there's no brain activity. The second is in the past lives of children. These are spontaneous past lives. And the third is past lives that adults can experience.
You mentioned near-death experiences. Can you tell me more?
Yes, let me give you an example. There was a patient who came into hospital in Holland, and he'd experienced a heart attack, and while the team were resuscitating him, his heart had stopped, there was no brain activity, and eventually after his heart was resuscitated, he was sent to intensive care, and a few days later he stopped a nurse and said, "Nurse, can I have my dentures back?" And she was quite surprised because she'd been the person that had taken the dentures out of his mouth and thrown them into a trash cart. And he was able to describe the conversation that had occurred and had actually witnessed this event from above his body. And this was just one of a number that occurred during a piece of research in a hospital led by a medical team. And this evidence seems to suggest that even after clinical death, some aspect of consciousness survives death, and this is something that we call the soul.
How do children's past lives fit into this?
Well, let me explain with an example. There was a 3-year-old girl living in a small remote village in India, and she had this spontaneous story emerging of being another girl living in a village over 100 miles away, and she was able to describe the house and various other events. And her parents eventually got tired of this story, so they took her to this village, somewhere where they'd never been before. And when they came to the house that she described, they found a house that was exactly the same. And the man who came to the door turned out to have had a child that had died 9 years before that fitted the story that this young girl had been given. And this was something that was investigated by a professor of parapsychology from the University of Virginia called Dr. Ian Stevenson. And he found 49 separate pieces of evidence that was verified by at least 2 independent witnesses. And there was only reincarnation that could explain this evidence. And this was one of 2,600 cases that he investigated. And the weight of all this seems to suggest that at least some children have reincarnation and have past lives, because any other explanation for it, for children that are just beginning to talk and just beginning to read, this is the only explanation. And of course, if they have it, then it's quite reasonable to assume that past lives is something that we all can have.
You use hypnosis to take people into past lives. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, hypnosis takes people into deep relaxation. And in deep relaxation, it's easier to tune into these memories from another part of our consciousness. It's a little bit like the old-fashioned radios that you're able to tune in and initially hear hiss, but as you start to tune and you get onto a station, then you're able to hear the radio quite clearly. So let's go through and see a video of a past life regression. Okay. Just check as your heart stopped beating now. Okay, just tell me what you experience now.
I was stabbed with this spear or something right through here. And then it's like I was being strangled. Like just something was around my neck. I think it was a hand or a foot or something just strangling me. And then I died.
Okay, move on and tell me what happens next.
And just look down and see my body. It's such a massacre. It's like a field of people dead and dying and being killed.
Okay, just tell me what emotions you're taking away from that life.
It's just sadness. What's the point? It's just all this death for nothing.
Mm-hmm. And any other emotions that you're taking from that life?
Anger.
Well, that was the death of a medieval warrior. Let's just find out what the experience was like for that person.
It might seem dramatic, but it's quite an amazing experience to go through that and to really feel the strength of that character. It's almost like I can still feel that strength with me. Such a strong man. And it's this determination, this single-mindedness. I can really feel the essence of that person, and it's quite empowering actually to go through that again and to heal, because I felt this part of my body, you know, where that spear was, and it's really nice to experience what that is and put some healing to that. So there's many aspects to it, but I know the experience of dying and moving on, and just the life continuing, just first in the body, then out the body, and then going through that healing, shedding this denseness, this heaviness of the battle, and then just being in the presence of just this love. Just phenomenal, just beautiful.
Can you tell me more about what we've just seen there?
Yes, what you were actually seeing there was a person that was remembering quite vividly the particular part when they were going through the death experience. And one of the things that always happens is that the memories are about leaving the physical body, where pain is left behind, but the emotions from that life that were unresolved are taken with it. And in this particular case, there were the emotions of sadness and anger that left the body with that death. And of course, there are similarities between this sort of account and the near-death experiences I was talking about before.
Can you explain more about the soul?
Well, there's consciousness that exists throughout the whole of the universe that brings life to it all. And a part of that is split off, and this is what's called the soul. And this part that's split off is given the opportunity to experience and grow in what we call human life. And the way that it does this is to experience difficult situations and to master aspects of emotions. And the important thing is what we, from a human perspective, would see as quite difficult or challenging situations from a soul perspective, or opportunities to grow and develop. It's almost as if the whole of the earth was a schoolroom, and that we go through our own individual lessons one by one until they're mastered, and then we go on to the next lesson.
We've heard Andy Tomlinson explain about the areas, providing strong evidence for the existence of the soul. More information is available in his book, Healing the Eternal Soul, or visit these websites.